Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? Are you in an abusive relationship with your job, maybe even unwittingly? I talked about this in a previous video, but this begs the question, if we're in an abusive relationship, what kind of personality does the abuser have? And the answer is disturbingly clear. We're in a relationship with a narcissist. The modern corporation behaves frighteningly like a narcissist. They're charming on the exterior, they're manipulative underneath, they're totally incapable of empathy, and they're obsessed with control and image. I don't want to make this a sensationalist and rather emotional video like the last one is. I want to compare point for point how corporations and narcissists kind of align, and it starts to look very, very similar. The heart of narcissism is kind of like having this hollow self, and they're desperate to feel important and irreplaceable. And so they tend to be obsessed with image rather than integrity. Corporations behave just like that. They're obsessed with perception, not the actual reality, not substance. You don't have to look very far to see that message, that carefully crafted message that corporations put out to the public and to their employees. They kind of conceal any sort of exploitation or moral ambiguity, and they want you to think that they're wonderful, they're the best, and they build brands, not real character. And they measure virtue in things like quarterly earnings and slogans. And as long as we have this great mission statement, well, that's good enough, right? In a healthy person, image kind of follows integrity. For a corporation and a narcissist, image replaces it entirely. The second similarity to actual narcissists is kind of like what is colloquially called the love bombing. When you first get into a narcissistic relationship or you start a corporate job, they shower you with all these flattery and all these compliments, and you're joining this family. We love you. There's an onboarding ritual. There's swag. There's team building exercises. There's learning the corporate mission statement. You're a part of a corporate culture now. It's not a culture, it's conditioning. And all of this stuff, in both cases, it's to promote buy-in before your brain starts working and you start to wonder what's really happening. You identify with a narcissist or you identify with a company's image, even to the point where you start to say, we. And once you've internalized that image, once you've bonded to the narcissist, then criticism feels like betrayal. And when other people criticize them, you'll defend them, even long after they stop defending you. And all of a sudden you find that your identity is closely wrapped up with this narcissist or this corporation. Now the third one is where it really starts to get ugly, because narcissists don't see people, they see resources. And companies act the exact same way. I mean, there's a human resources department, for crying out loud. With a narcissist, once you stop providing all the emotional fuel that they really crave, all the validation, all the attention, all the accolades, they start to withdraw their affection. They start to dehumanize you. And with a corporation, this goes even further. You become a labor cost, a head count. You're a statistic on a spreadsheet. You're a number. You're no longer really a person. You're an asset. You're a human resource. They used to praise your creativity and your enthusiasm. Now they tell you to do more with less. If you're burned out or exhausted or getting a little jaded, they tell you you have a lack of commitment. You need to really rethink your attitude. Get back in line with the company mission. And once your compliance stops becoming profitable, well then, you're on the chopping board. Then, of course, there's the gaslighting, the manipulation of reality, which means lying. Narcissists thrive on this, being able to make you start to believe that something else entirely is true and to not believe your own perceptions. Corporations do the very same thing. You start to bring up concerns and they tell you you don't really see the big picture, or you need to focus on something else, or why aren't you taking care of that? When they have layoffs, it's right-sizing, it's optimizing efficiency. Their surveillance and the micromanagement, well, that's just engagement metrics. They literally hire professionals that provide spin, that tell them how to do that. They will tell you things that are manifestly not true, that you can all see is not true. They know it, and you know it, and they'll do it with a smile. We've all been in those situations where we know our manager is lying to us, and you just can't believe they're saying this crap with a straight face. Then there's this really weird cult of endless growth. Corporations seem to be really addicted to this. And narcissists are addicted to the praise, to the validation. It's never enough. They always want more. And very often the corporate narcissist is addicted to growth for growth's sake. It's this constant chasing after more profits, more productivity, more growth, even if it burns out everybody involved. It's this crazy system that can't really reflect, can't really rest. It just keeps on consuming and going forward, and unfortunately it's dragging you with it. Then there's the manufactured empathy, kind of the PR spin. And when a narcissist gets caught, they will put on this big emotional show, this manufactured apology. They will sometimes really, claim to understand you. Oh, I get it. I can change now, honey. The things will be better. All that kind of bullshit. They don't fear remorse, they fear exposure. Corporations do the same thing. HR will give you all kinds of spin, and it's all BS to look good and keep you quiet. They'll sponsor a mental health month, they'll have a diversity report, but they're still committing all these things that make people feel undervalued and feel discriminated against, and like is really pushing the hell out of their mental health. And they'll say things like, we're a big family, we care about you, but they'll union bust behind the scenes, or sometimes not behind the scenes. They'll even tell you that the union is bad for you, the union is out to get you. With a narcissist, with a corporation, the empathy is strategic. It's to neutralize any kind of criticism. It's to regain control of the narrative. It's image management is all it is. It's bullshit. And here's one of those things I've seen all too often in people I know that are in relationships with narcissists. The narcissists keep them off balance. They give them this idea that you can't possibly survive without me. There's control through insecurity. You're lucky to have me. Nobody's going to treat you this well. This is as good as it's going to get. Where else are you going to go? Corporations will do the same thing. It's tough out there. You're lucky to have this job. And besides, you have health care here. What are you going to do without us? If you quit this job, if you leave, how are you going to get health care? They've got you. Then what we end up in both cases is a situation of extraction without reciprocity. A narcissist gets all this emotional stuff from you. They give nothing back. Once they've got you, you're really just kind of getting beaten up by them all the time, afraid to leave. Corporations, well, they exist for extraction as well, for labor and for time and for loyalty. Yes, you get a paycheck, but it's nothing compared to what they get from you. They don't just expect your time and your work. They expect passion and initiative and ownership. And just like a narcissist, they're going to toss you a scrap of recognition every once in a while just to keep you on the leash. Then, of course, there's a total lack of accountability. A narcissist is never going to take ownership of what they've done wrong. Corporations are just the same. When workers suffer, leadership expresses regret, never responsibility. Decisions get made, well, it's really the market that determined this. If there's exploitation, well, it's systemic, it's not personal. These are how things are, and this is just the way the company's running right now. If they're pressed on why certain things happen, they'll always give you these examples of metrics and figures, and they'll never name an actual person or people that made these decisions. It just sort of happened, and so nobody's really at fault, right? Narcissists hide behind charm, corporations hide behind process. Even when you get rid of them, you're not really rid of them, because if a narcissist discards you, very often they'll come back, and very often the people will come back to them. And corporations will do this every once in a while as well. It's called boomerang hiring, I guess. And they'll make you another offer and lure you back in to something that either you left or, worse, they laid you off from. The really twisted thing is there's this collective trauma bond that starts to happen between all of the people in the corporation, because you're not the only one getting abused and gaslit. Everyone is. And so we all collectively have this trauma bonding experience, and we bond through things like shared exhaustion, or we joke about burnout as if it's normal. We romanticize overwork and call it dedication, get back to work. And what we end up doing is we're all normalizing this abuse together. By clinical standards, most corporations qualify as full-blown narcissists, except they're effectively immortal, they're global, and they're legally protected. So they tell me this is the part of the video where I'm supposed to tell you what to do about this, but I can't tell you what to do. All I'm doing here is kind of exposing what's happening and letting you see it for what it really is. What you do about it is on you, whether you look for a different job, whether you learn to live with it, or whether you decide to do something else where you're not exposing yourself to that. But I believe denying that, by pretending that's not what's happening, that's not really a good thing for any of us. I would love to hear your comments on this. Do you think I'm crazy? Have you seen this kind of behavior and thought the same thing? Or is this kind of revolutionary for you? Thanks a lot for watching, and as always, you can support the channel by liking the video, subscribing, and you can use super thanks to throw me $1 or $2 or $5 million. Your choice. Take it easy, kids.